It's the end of the year, well, shortly, and we're all feeling the effects of the past 11 months, 11 and a half months. Oof, so exhausted. Aching bodies, mind fogginess, and exhaustion. This all comes down to year-end fatigue. But what can you do to push through? Now, joining me now is counseling psychologist Bianca Keeley from the Psychology and Wellness Center in Johannesburg. She's going to help us answer some of those questions. Bianca, I was sighing just now deliberately, but because we all feel tired by this time of the year. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was telling some colleagues, I'm thinking, oh, can November just end now? We just need to take that breather, that fatigue, you know? And there's research that shows that we've become the country with the longest working hours in the world. I mean, it's crazy. Literally, it's crazy. We're driving ourselves nuts, literally, through work. How can we manage?
Well, I think it's important to note that also South Africa has quite strong stigmas against psychology and reaching out for help. And I think that's a very strong exacerbating factor in terms of why we have such high stress levels within our work.
So we don't like to go to you and say, I need help.
Yes. So I think that's something that I deal with a lot in the practice is targeting stigmas towards psychology. And when people come into therapy, it's a very rewarding experience. And they often say, I wish I did this sooner. And I think in South Africa we do have very strong variables that impact individuals on a daily basis, but I think a strong factor is that people struggle to reach out for help.
What's the stigma that maybe people would think I'm mad?
Yes, and people think, well, maybe I'm weak or I'm going crazy.
Especially weak guys, so to speak. I know it's a stereotype, but generally, guys, I'm not going to see a psychologist. I'm not mad.
And then when people come in, they actually feel a lot of relief because a lot of the things that we target are what is driving this force of stress, and we work a lot with coping skills. But I think the number one thing is for people to identify when they're reaching burnout, because there are a lot of signs and symptoms that people experience for a long-term process, and when they come in, they're often at the end point of burnout.
Okay. What are the main causes of burnout from your experience or your clients? So you don't need to say anything confidential, but what are the things that are causing us to be so stressed out?
An imbalance in lifestyle is something I work with on a daily basis. You know, I have families where parents work extremely long hours, where families just aren't spending quality time together. You know, parents are getting home in the evenings. There's a lot of au pairs and nannies involved trying to help keep the household running. And then, you know, there's no outlet for those processes. So the imbalance of their lifestyle is often a strong driving force. And then if you're not reaching out at the same time, it's like a pressure cooker effect. So the pressure just builds up until the lid explodes.
Is there also, because there's too much pressure in corporates and organizations like ENCA, like maybe yours, because you guys are Psychology and Wellness Center, you manage yourselves well, but organizations pushing for results and performance-driven culture.
Absolutely. And with social media these days, it just highlights the competition, isn't it? So people are always trying to chase the next big thing or be better, do better, be on top, and that pressure is incredibly strong. Okay,
you've mentioned that there's a lot of imbalance in our life, but when somebody now comes to you, what else? You said there's coping mechanisms. What do you advise people to do? What can you do, especially now as you go into some downtime, to be able to restore and re-energize yourself?
Well, this is actually one of the busiest periods of our career as psychologists, because at this time of year people are very tired. We see a sharp increase in depression and anxiety. We have a very strong increase in suicide attempts, and there's also other exacerbating factors like Christmas, where sometimes spending time with family isn't the relief that people want, you know.
And it can be a lonely time as well.
Yes, it can be a very lonely time. So I think what I always encourage people to do is identify when they're reaching burnout. Number two, reach out. There are so many organizations and there are a lot of professionals out there that are able to assist individuals with their stress levels. And then a thing that I really deal with every day is targeting their lifestyle. You know, is your lifestyle working for you? What are the driving forces that are creating the tipping point?
So no amount of medication, stuff like that would really help you. Because some people say, I'll just take some stuff, or I'll enjoy my whiskey and my wine and I'll be okay. But it can make things worse.
Well, sometimes medication is warranted, and depending on the severity of the situation, some people find symptom relief from medication. However, with burnout, it's very important to address the lifestyle factors that exacerbate those processes, because the medication can mask certain symptoms, but we do have to address the situation. And with something that we also have in South Africa is just a high level of suppression. So people don't always emotionally process the way the brain wants us to. And so if the pressure is increasing and we're not processing the way we're meant to or designed to, it can create very big problems in certain people's lives.
So once you really feel burned out, seek out help. Doesn't mean that you're weak. Actually, it means that you're strong, because you've identified a problem and you want to get to the bottom of it.
And it's a very, working with burnout is actually a very, it's a workable space. It's a very workable space, and I think you can sort things out. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Bianca. That's Bianca Keeley from Bryanston Psychology and Wellness Center here in Johannesburg, giving us some very good common sense advice there. But seek out the help if you need it.